Hey, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual. I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. So subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. Excuse me. So I am asexual in sexual orientation. I lack sexual attraction, and I look to watch movies that don't have sex in them. And I do know sex movie reviews are very popular on this channel because most movies do include sex. But if you go to certificate 12 or under that, usually they don't have sex. And I like superhero movies. In fact, I love superhero movies. And so today I went to I've gone over midnight now. So a few hours ago, I watched Blue Beetle at the cinema on Self Date. And I'm going to be doing spoilers now in case you are going to watch the movie. So if you don't want spoilers, if you don't want to know what happens to the superhero DC movie Blue Beetle, do not watch this. Okay, because yeah, it's gonna spoil a lot of the movie. So I would say this movie is a coming of age story. Very quickly, you see the boy go to a man by the end of the film, very quickly, but still have his boyish charms and looks and still be like a young guy at the same time, if you know what I mean. So this guy progresses from the whole of the movie from being a guy, a 22-year-old, he's 22 in real life, the guy who plays Jaime, who becomes Blue Beetle. And in USA, Blue Beetle is a flop. It might not have no sex scene, but the movie not doing good. Oh, Rob, I didn't know that. Well, I went to see it today and I absolutely, yesterday now, because we've got over to the next day of the UK, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was amazing. There's some bits that are a little bit slow if I was to be critical of it. There's some little bits that are a bit slow, but the actual special effects was fantastic. I did really find the lead actor gorgeous. Like I wanted to snog him, especially before he became the Beetle. Like he's my look I like. So that probably enhanced the movie from my own point of view. Like I'm asexual, but I get aesthetic attraction, romantic attraction for younger foreign guys, short dark hair, clean shaven, and he's like really like my aesthetic type. And I'm like, you're so gorgeous. I just want to snog your face off right now. As soon as I saw him in the beginning of the movie, I thought I just want to snog your face off. And so it was very difficult for me to watch it. I'm like, I really want to kiss you right now. Because I really like younger foreign guys. I'm not interested in guys anywhere near my birth certificate age or older. I really like younger guys. And I have kissed a 22-year-old guy this year. Pakistani he was, though. Anyway, this guy in the movie is meant to be from Mexico, but in real life, he's born in Los Angeles. So what happens is Jaime graduates from college and he returns home to his family and he doesn't realize, but his family, well, his dad has lost his job and basically they're going to lose the family home. And so it's like, oh my gosh, like, how can I support my family? What can I do? And he has a talk to his dad. And he says to his dad he feels like a failure because he's got his degree, but he's got like no job and he can't support his family. And the dad's lost the job and the family home's gonna go. And so he's like, he basically says to Jaime that we're all born for a special purpose, we're all born for a purpose. And Jaime asks his dad, like, what's your purpose? And he's like, I still haven't found mine yet, son. And he goes, but right now it's sat here talking to you. And so that's a conversation they have, which is prominent in the film later on. There's a reason behind that conversation. And so, anyway, Jamie's sister manages to get Jaime and her a job. And when they get this job, they get it in something called Cord. Called Cord, Kord. So, yeah. So basically, it's working at the mansion of Cord Industries. And there's a couple of family members that you see. Victoria Cord is the bad family member, if you like. and there is Jenny. So Jenny's father left Cord Industries basically to her, and the other person, Victoria Cord, thought they were gonna have the business left to them, but instead the father left it to Jenny instead of Victoria. So Victoria's really resentful, and Victoria's like, this was my business and your father basically stole it from me, this type of language. And so what happens is there's rivalry between them, and Victoria's not a good person at all. She's got this guy who you find out later in the film what happened to him, but she basically has mind manipulated him into thinking he's broken and he's nothing until she fixed him and made him like part machine. And she drilled into his brain basically and hooked him up with a metal arm and made him like a war machine. And so he's like her servant really, but he's much more stronger than her. And so anyway, Victoria gets hold of this blue beetle, and it's in a laboratory, and you don't find out till later on what she's doing. Much later on, you find out that she's using the power of the blue beetle. She wants to enhance the power of the blue beetle to set off lots of little beetles to attach to other. It's like it's a scarab basically to attach to bodies of people to rule the world with. That's her big plan. But at this point in time, the scarab beetle doesn't have a host, and so it's kept in this laboratory. And Jenny finds out what Victoria, don't forget these two are in the same family, what Victoria has been doing. I think Victoria is Jenny's aunt. Jenny is her niece. So Jenny steals the scarab, the blue beetle, from Victoria's lab. And she steals it because her dad was fixated on the blue beetle, and she doesn't want to get into the wrong hands, because if it gets into the wrong hands, she knows it's basically a nuclear weapon. So meanwhile, I said that Jaime and his sister have gone to work basically where Jenny's dad's corporation is. But Jenny and Victoria are both in the organization together to a certain extent. Like Jenny owns Corp Industries because her father left it to her, but the Victoria's still in the business, family business. So they're like rivalries. And what happens is Victoria tells Jenny to not stand in her way. And Jenny's like, this is my dad's legacy. And, you know, you basically want to make nuclear weapons. And this is not what he wanted. So they have like a banter fight, like verbal fight. And what happens is Jaime happens to be in the mansion because his sister and him were outside just basically like maintenance people scraping off bubble gum and things like that and seen to the pool of this mansion. And so it's really weird. They don't usually talk about this in the movie, but basically his sister decides to go for a shit, a poo, dump, whatever you want to call it. And she wants to do it inside the mansion. And I thought, oh my God, this is how they got basically Jaime to overhear what Jenny and Victoria were saying. Victoria threatened Jenny, and then Jaime stepped in and basically said not to, like, to back off. And so Jaime and his sister got fired, and then they went outside, and then Jenny followed them. Jenny's very wealthy. Is it billionaire, millionaire? Well, you know, very, very hugely wealthy because her father left all the business. And she does end up being snappy at Jaime, saying, I can take care of myself. You didn't need to do that, basically. Then she realizes he's a nice guy, and she gives him her card, business card, and says, maybe I can get you a job, like call at my tower tomorrow. And so he goes to get the job. He thinks she's got a job for him. And all his Mexican family, like, are really loud and waving him off and shouting stuff and things like that. Because he's got his dad that he lives with, his mum, his grandma, and his dad's brother, I think it is. And so they all live together in this family home. So there's not really any privacy. So he's got sister, I mentioned, yeah, sister, dad, brother. No, he hasn't got a brother, sorry. Sister, dad, mother, grandma, and his dad's brother. Yes, they all live together in a house. There's not much privacy. They're kind of up in each other's business. And they're very close, though, the family. You know, they're quite funny throughout the movie, actually. And so, anyway, they cheer Jaime off as he goes to get this job from Jenny's corporation. And when he tries to get a job, he has to wait in reception, and the receptionist doesn't really know who he is, but she's like, "I'll just take a seat." So he's there waiting for her, and then he sees her coming down in the lift. Now she has just stolen the blue Scarab from the lab and is coming down in the escalator with it in like a takeaway box, like a burger bun box, to hide it. And so she's got the Scarab and she gives it to Jaime because Jamie's like, oh, Jamie's chasing after her, running down the escalator, jumping over the escalator and saying, you said about a job, because he's desperate for a job again because his family is going to lose their family home because his dad, like I said, lost his job. So he's running all over the place, which is quite funny and amusing. And it's like he doesn't care who else is in the way. He's just fixated on her. And he is attracted to her as well. It's obvious. And, it progresses that way throughout the movie. And so he runs after her, and then the alarms go off, and they've got to shut down the building because they realize that the Scarab has gone. And so she's meant to be like the head of the corporation, but she's had to steal it basically from her own aunt, I think it is, And so she has to be seen to be like on the side of security and an innocent partaker, right? And so, or innocent bystander, whichever you want to call it, she has to portray that she's innocent and she's got nothing to do with it, doesn't know what's going on. So she has to tell them to lock down some of the building. And so she says to Jaime, "You'll do anything to help me, right? Because you want a job here. And here's this. Don't look in it. Don't do anything with it. Don't touch it. Basically, just take the box and look after it for me." And so he's got this burger box and he doesn't know what's in it. So he does what she tells him to do and goes home and puts it on the family table downstairs in the kitchen. But like I said, there's no privacy in his family. Everyone's up in each other's business. And it's all very much everyone makes decisions together and tells each other what to do. So he's got this box on the kitchen table and his sister's like, aren't you going to open it? He's like, no, she told me not to. And she's like, yeah, but, you know, most people would open it by now, like, and take a look. There's no harm in taking a look. And he's like, no. And she's like, well, I can still take a look because she didn't tell me not to. And anyway, the box is open. I can't remember whether his sister opens it or he opens it. I think his sister might open it. Anyway, it gets open because basically they're putting pressure on him to open it. The box gets opened and there's this just blue Scarab, and then Jaime holds it in his hand. And this is really good what happens next. So he's holding it in his hand, and then all of a sudden, so it just looks like a big, massive brooch. Like it doesn't look like it's alive at this point. It just looks like it's an artifact, like a collectible or something. Right. And then he puts it on his hand, and then literally the Scarab beetle like digs its claws in and it starts coming alive first of all. And it's like, oh my God, it's alive, and it starts digging its claws in basically, and then before you know it, it's gone up his back or whatever, jumped on his back, and it's on his back, and then it's literally metamorphosizing his whole body. And so it's really good special effects where he's in the lounge, he's in front of all his family. What I loved about this movie is he's not becoming a superhero in secret like most movies you see. There's always like the family doesn't usually know, or they're the last ones to know, or maybe there's one person in the whole family that knows it and no one else does. But in this movie, the whole family knows it from the beginning because they were witness to it. And so I did like that different part of the movie. I was thinking, this is good, you know? It's about time they had a superhero movie where he's not having to keep himself secret all the time, you know? And he's out in the open to his family. And literally, the beetle goes in him and then it jumps on his body. And then you see these massive special effects where it takes over his whole body. So his best trainers, remember this is a 22-year-old guy, his best trainers like pop and all his feet come out because he's changing into the blue beetle. Like he's metamorphosizing into a blue beetle. And it's going to all his hands and on all up his body. He's changing color because he ends up with a beetle suit on him. And then his face is like the last one to go. And you see all this beetle stuff. Like it's a bit like webbing that goes all over his eyes and his mouth and he's going like this. And so he's covered and he's looking himself at himself in a reflection of like a piece of furniture. I can't remember what it was he was looking at. I don't think it was a proper mirror. It's like I don't know if it's a brass plate on the wall or something, and he sees like what he looks like and he's screaming, and then the family's all screaming and the family's falling over and stuff's falling over on the kitchen. But what happens in the end is he blasts through the roof. So when the whole metamorphosis happened and he's got claws coming out of himself and like tentacles, but they're like tentacles and claws all in one. And he comes and he's like demolish the kitchen pretty much with all his metamorphosis, and then he goes boom up into the atmosphere. And what happens is he's got this voice that starts talking to him, and it's like a training program that the suit puts the host through, and the scarab beetle has to choose a host, so it's chosen him. And it's got this voice that talks. So it's very much like Tony Stark Iron Man with Spider-Man, where Spider-Man puts the glasses on and then the Spider-Man can hear Tony Stark's previous assistant. Tony Stark, obviously Iron Man, you know Iron Man's dead, don't you? I think he'll come back and he's probably in another multiverse, but he's meant to be dead in the current time. So anyway, so he leaves Spider-Man some glasses, and then Spider-Man puts the glasses on and hears a voice that tells him what to do, and it's got high tech. So it's a bit like the similar sort of thing, but this is inbuilt into the suit. And so it's a bit, you could argue it's a bit like Iron Man with Jarvis, but anyway, so it's in this suit and it decides to go through this protocol of explaining to the Blue Beetle all the different functions of the suit. But instead of just explaining it goes ahead and does it. So the Blue Beetle shoots through the roof of the family home, goes into the atmosphere, goes right up into space, and the suit is being tested and in all different ways to see if it can go really up into space, really high up into space, and the person can still breathe in the suit. And then it decides to stop that, and because it's going to a different protocol, and drop it, and then it's plunging like down towards the ground. Then all of a sudden it catches on fire. So it's gone through all these like different elements of weather in atmosphere, and then it's going down to like flames and stuff. And so basically it's trying all the powers out, different weapons and things like that. And then what happens is the Blue Beetle ends up being in a situation where he lands in the road because a baddie comes after him, which is Victoria's sidekick, this guy she basically mind manipulated into the fact that he's got a disability, or he was a poor orphan, or whatever. You find out that she killed his mother in the end. But anyway, he is like, he's like a part robot, right? Like a war machine. And so he comes after Blue Beetle, but Blue Beetle's in the middle of the road at one point, trying to get away, trying to deal with his powers, and he cuts this bus in half. So he ends up putting his shield up and then literally cuts this bus in half. And so at first he doesn't know how to use his powers. And when the Victoria realizes that the Scarab Beetle has been lost from the lab, that's when she sent her sidekick, if you like, the guy who she turned into like a war machine, he's part machine, after him, because she's like, he you've got to get him because he's got the beetle At first she doesn't realize he's actually the Beetle. He's metamorphosized into the Beetle. She just thinks that the Scarab is missing and they've got to find it. I think that's a general consensus. He's got it, but he's not changed into being. It's not chosen him at that point. So anyway, when he's first got his Beetle powers, he doesn't really know what to do with them. He's all over the place and he's got a heart of gold. Like, he doesn't want to kill anyone. So what happens is Victoria's psychic, he comes after, don't forget he's part machine, part human, part machine. He's like a war machine, comes after the Blue Beetle, Jaime, but Jaime's like, I don't want to kill anyone. So Jaime keeps telling the voice, which is basically the program that's in the suit, he keeps saying, no weapons, we can't kill. Because he said, I don't want to kill anyone. So he'll only like grab hold of them and throw them. He'll only shield from them or restrain them using like these blue handcuff type things. And so he won't actually kill anyone. And unfortunately, what happens is, because he won't kill anyone, this machine, part Victoria's psychic, part human, part machine, comes after his family. And they end up hunting down his family in a way to trap him to coming back. And, they know he's a Blue Beetle by this time, that he's metamorphosized. But as the film progresses, you find out he becomes at one with the Blue Beetle. So at the beginning, it's like they're two separate things. It's like he is Jaime still, and then there's another voice inside the suit talking to him, and they're like two different elements. But as the film progresses, they become symbiotic, and it becomes to the point where they're completely together. And so basically they become one by the end of the movie completely. And so, anyway, to cut a long story short, Victoria's come with her War Machine sidekick. He's not called War Machine like in Iron Man, but I call him, he's like a war machine. And she comes with the sidekick, which I call like a war machine. She comes with him anyway, and he's always trying to destroy the Blue Beetle, and Blue Beetle has an opportunity to kill him, but he doesn't, because he doesn't believe in killing. And what happens is, because this guy has come after his family, his dad actually dies. Now, his dad doesn't die from being killed outright by Victoria and her sidekick. What happens is his dad ends up having a heart attack running away from them when the Blue Beetle protects the family by putting a shield up, but then he's like, run, because he can only hold them off for so long. The mother and the granny and the father's brother get away, and the sister ends up falling down. The dad goes to pick the sister, which is his daughter, Jamie's sister, which is Jamie's dad's daughter. His dad goes to pick the sister up, which is his daughter, and unfortunately has a heart attack with all the stress, and he dies. And then Blue Beetle gets captured by the sidekick guy of Victoria and gets taken away in a helicopter, chained down. Basically, they put this thing on him that tries to stop his powers. So it tries to stop the suit, the powers in the suit, from being able to help him, to protect him. And so he ends up being pretty defenseless. And so he can't save his father. And then what happens is Jenny, Jenny is a prominent feature throughout the movie. So Jenny was the one who gave him the Beetle in the container with the burger. It was a burger bun container, but the burger was out of it, basically. And so Jenny, before this happened, before Blue Beetle got taken away in the helicopter and his dad died, Jenny had come to the family home, because what happened is Jaime found Jenny running away, and that's because they found out she took the Beetle, the Scarab, you know, so he ended up taking her to the family home, and that's when she finds out that he's actually become the Blue Beetle. And she loves being in that family, the Mexican family that's very down to earth, poor, basically like street people, very, very working class. And she like million billionaire basically, and she's very hugely wealthy. I can't remember if they call her a millionaire or billionaire, but anyway, she's extremely wealthy because her dad left her the corporation, right, the industry. And so her dad left her the cord industries, right? So she is very, very wealthy, but Jaime isn't. And there's a love story blooming where basically she's the older woman, he's the younger guy, she's basically the rich one and he's the poor one. So instead of it being like the 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 white woman goes off with the rich foreign guy, it's kind of a switched around where it's the younger guy who's a poorer guy, a bit like Aladdin, falls in love with an older woman, basically. In real life, he's 22 and she's 28 in real life. But in the movie, you can tell she's older than him because she runs her own business, basically. And there just looks like there is some difference between them in age, even though she's quite young looking anyway. And so, but he's just graduated college, so he's meant to be younger than her, 22. And so, anyway, I like the fact that she's the older woman because obviously I'm an older girl that's into younger guys, younger foreign guys. So I really like that storyline. And she gets to meet his family and she realizes her family is full of love. So although it's not a rich family in terms of money, they're the richest people on earth because they have love. So they're rich, full of love, right? Full of love. And that's really incredible and amazing. So I really think that's a great, great part of the movie. And anyway, so as the movies progress, she reveals her lab that her dad had and that he was the original Blue Beetle. And these were you see his 3 suits and you see all this like equipment, and the Blue Beetle's dad's brother happens to be really good at tech, but old-fashioned tech. He's really good. So they're in this like old house with all this Blue Beetle tech from when her dad was there and disappeared. But it's very interesting because her mum died when she was 6. Jenny's mum died when she was 6, but the father was always like working obsessed with the Blue Beetle. But apparently he wasn't the host for it. So the Blue Beetle would never metamorphosize into her dad's body. He would always have to invent Blue Beetle suits because he couldn't actually become the Blue Beetle because the Scarab Beetle chooses the host and it didn't choose her father. But she said that her father got really obsessed with the Blue Beetle to the point where he would spend a long periods away and then he disappeared and that was it. So at the very end of the movie, I'm going to skip to the end now and just tell you one thing before I go back. I'm going to skip to the end. You should watch the credits. Because I always say watch the credits at the end, because if you do not watch the credits, you're not going to understand everything and you're going to miss bits of information out. And at the very last bit of the credits, when the credits are going like, going round, you find out that her dad is still alive for the next episode. He's basically contacting his lab and saying that he's still alive and he needs help. So unless it's an imposter that's pretending to be him, it seems he's alive somewhere. So I'm assuming that Jaime as a Blue Beetle will have to save Jenny's father in the next episode. I'm assuming. I don't know. But Jaime's father might die because there's only one Blue Beetle. Not Jaime's father. Jenny's father might die because there's only one Blue Beetle. and he doesn't, and I don't know, unless there's more than one Blue Beetle. But that's just a hypothesis, like if the Blue Beetle saved Jenny's dad as a Blue Beetle, would there be two Blue Beetles, or would Jenny's dad be resentful that the Blue Beetle isn't at Metamorphosis isn't actually him? See, my mind starts thinking about the next movie already. Or will it just be that Jamie saves her father? Or will it be the fact that he has to sacrifice his life for Jenny's love, which is the Blue Beetle, who's the actual real Blue Beetle, because the Blue Beetle's chosen him? So going back to this movie, you find out that Jamie cannot separate from the Blue Beetle because they become as one, and to separate them, because the Blue Beetle has taken over Jamie's mind and integrated with his mind, it would mean that the only way they could extract the Blue Beetle from him is if he was dead, a corpse, right? But later on in the movie, this movie, you find out that basically he's taken. I told you his dad died. He's taken in this helicopter. He's chained. He's got this thing across his suit which stops the suit from protecting him. And so this is the dire part of the movie, where his dad's dead, his sister, mother, grandma, and dad's brother are still back at their old house. Their old house is burnt down because when they came to attack the family, there was a candle that I think the grandma had or something, and it was knocked over, and so their whole house is burnt to a crisp, basically. And Jamie's sister wants to cry because her brother's gone, her dad's dead, but the grandma's like, it's no time for crying right now. We've got to actually fight back and kick their asses. And so Jenny takes the family to the place where her father had this laboratory, got this laboratory still, but her dad's non-existent in this film till the end of the movie. You find out he's still alive. So basically, this laboratory has all his tech in it, has all his Blue Beetle tech in it, but he also has other tech, and it has this Beetle, like starship type place. It has this Beetle, so it's like a beetle, a robotic beetle, but it flies in the air. I love that bit. I thought it was amazing. And so Jenny's got Jamie's family that are going to try and get Jamie back from the corporation, from the industries, Cord Industries, where they've got to go into the building and risk their own lives to get Jamie back. They don't have actual superpowers themselves, but on this bug ship, this plane, I shouldn't say ship is on the sea, isn't it? Sorry, this plane, but it doesn't look like a plane, it's a bug. So, but anyway, on this plane, which is a bug plane, a bug robotic plane, whatever you want to call it, it flies through the air. I don't know how it flies through air with all the metal, but never mind. Anyway, within this bug, her father has left some tech, and so the family ends up with some of the tech. Jamie's sister ends up with this thing on her arm, this glove that changes 1 minute into a massive fist that punches people and then turns into a shield. And the grandma's got this massive, like, laser machine gun. And they're like, oh, like, what are you going to do with that? 'Cause she looks like a grandma. It's really funny. And then she takes her hairpin out and puts pigtails down and is like ready to fight. So they changed her from like a elderly woman that can't really do so much for herself and seems quite doddery to being this really strong, powerful woman who wants to kick butt and kick ass, and tells the family, this is no time to cry right now, cry later. We got to kick ass. So so what happens is Jenny and Jamie's sister end up going, after they've flown in this bug thing with the rest of the family, they end up going into the building, basically, and like I said, into Cord Industries. So it's like the mansion of Cord Industries. Cord Industries is a like high level facility with laboratory stuff in it and everything like that. So, which is where the Scarab was originally stolen from. So they have to go back in there and they have to try and find Jamie, who is the Blue Beetle. Meanwhile, Jamie, as the Blue Beetle, is being strung up like it's upside down, and then is having the blue life sucked out of him, out of his suit, to put into Victoria's psychic guy, which I told you he's like a war machine. He's part human, part machine. But she wants him to get more powerful and have the blue beetle juice in him, if you like, so he can become all powerful, so she can use him to rule the world with. And meanwhile, Jaime's having the life sucked out of him, the blue life sucked out of him, and he's dying. He's dying because, he's having the life sucked out of him. And he's become he's integrated with the beetle. The beetle's integrated with Jaime's cells and brain and everything. So they're like becoming as one. So you can't separate them like that without Jaime dying. But what happens to further on, as he's going through like this torturous procedure, is something happens where the beetle is becoming completely at one with Jaime. It wasn't quite there. So throughout the movie, you see him metamorphosizing into this beetle. First, it's just the body, and they're like two separate, and it's like two separate entities, and this entity is in Jaime's body, but they're still two separate entities. Then you find out that they're literally merging together, where the beetle is going into his brain and going to every cell. And then by the time he's getting to like the more torturous scene, where the blue blood, if you like, is being pulled from his body and suit, he has this moment where he's actually becoming completely at one. So while he's dying, he then actually sees his dead dad. And his dead dad, he has this visualization where he goes into this other world, if you like, where his dad's dead, and his dad's like, "It's not your time, son, but I know my purpose now. I'm here to tell you in this moment," it's a bit sad, this, that you are the blue beetle, and that is your purpose, and you need to be basically okay with that and accept it, and go and take up your rightful place as that beetle. And he's like, "Oh, but I can't do that." Your daddy said, "Yeah, you can, because you are, this is what you're born for, son. And I'm here to tell you that. That's why I'm here in this moment telling you. This is my purpose to tell you. And this is your purpose, to go and be the blue beetle." And so anyway, meanwhile, the blood's gone into the guy's Victoria's psychic war machine type guy. And you find out, Jenny finds out with Jaime's sister, that there's this whole laboratory full of these little beetles that she has been manufacturing in like this massive room, which is like a big lab, so that the blue liquid, the blue blood, if you like, the blue juice from Jaime, can actually diffuse and go into the main psychic, Jenny's psychic, which is this war machine type guy. And it can also go to all these scarabs. So literally she can have multiple versions of like Jaime, multiple blue beetles everywhere to rule the world with, because they're nuclear weapons, basically. Well, they are weapons. They're like nuclear weapons, because no one can really control them. They're made of, like molecular structure, which is very different. It's actually alien. It's meant to be an alien thing. The blue beetle's meant to be alien. And so it's a weapon anyway against the world to take it over. And so they have to stop it. And when Jaime's having this vision with the dad, in like his dad's like in heaven, but he's also, his dad's in this place where he's kind of not fully in heaven yet. He's showing Jaime what the world's gone like if he doesn't become the blue beetle. And he's like on this island where most of the world's like being destroyed, and there's bits of it that are flying everywhere and disintegrated. And it's just like he's on this island of this one piece of land. And he's like, if you don't become the blue beetle, look at what's going to happen. You're here to save this basically from happening. So you need to take your rightful place as blue beetle. So the blue beetle suit is in space, is in this vision. It's in like in the outer space, in the middle of nowhere, just stuck there, like stopped. And Jaime is Jaime talking to his dad, But Jaime has to decide to reach across, jump across like the space to actually touch the blue beetle suit to completely fuse with it and become at one with it completely. And only when he becomes at one completely with it by accepting that it is a part of him and it's going to be part of him forever, and he is at one with the blue beetle. So he has to change his mindset in order to physically become the fusion he needs to break the chains, if you like, of where they've attached him to be able to go free and become the blue beetle to save the day that he needs to be. And so once he breaks free, the Victoria's psychic, that is part guy, part machine, goes after Jaime. And he's been trying to get hold of Jaime all the time, but Jaime's a blue beetle now. But the blue beetle juice is in this guy's body as well. So this guy has got his own armor, his own like part war machine type body, and he's also got Jaime's blue blood, the blue beetle blood in him. So he's so powerful by now. The only thing is he misses his wife and kid because he has a locket that has his wife and kid in it. And that's from his past life. That's pretty much all he's got left of the life he had before Victoria got hold of him and basically made mutilate his body into being part machine, which he actually hates. But he can't really remember his past, you find out, until the very end when what happens is Jaime is in a position where he's going to die because this war machine type creature has him held down, and Jaime's tried to fight him and he can't anymore, and this guy's like, the love of your family is what makes you weak. And in the end, and he's like, oh, and the suit, when the suit talks to him, it's like, I can't help you anymore because the like war type machine type guys punctured him in a certain place, and she's like, the suit's like, I can't look after you, I can't protect you anymore. So he has to find the courage to protect himself and his family as Jaime as well, not just the suit. And then he starts to think about his dad and he gets really angry and he starts hitting the guy over and over again, and the machine kind of comes back to life. The machine starts sorry, not the machine, the suit starts talking to him again because he's trying to kill the other guy that's part machine and part human. And as he's trying to kill the other guy because he's so hurt right now about his dad and about the fact that, you know, this guy is going to kill him and his family if he doesn't do something by now, then I say guy, he's part guy, part machine, you know. Victoria, of course, loves this because this is what she wants. She wants a blue beetle dead. And so he gets a blue beetle in such a position that, you know, it's been hard to get out of. But once the blue beetle gets out of it, he gets so angry that he then decides to try and kill this guy. And he really does have him to the point where he could kill him. But the blue beetle's voice inside says to stop because we don't kill people. So basically what that means is the blue beetle suit, the blue beetle scarab, and him, they've become symbiotic. They're actually completely as one now because the suit thinks like Jaime does. In the beginning, the suit had its own mind, if you like, and it was telling Jaime, you know, you need to kill this person, you need to have this weapon and kill to protect yourself and protect your family. Jaime was like, I don't do killing. You can't use killing. Get rid of that weapon. Get something else. And the suit was insisting that, you know, that Jaime needed to do that. Jaime was saying, no, we don't kill. And so now when Jaime's prepared to kill this part guy, part machine, to avenge his father and to protect his family because it's going to kill his family else, then the suit's actually saying Jaime's own words, you know, which is that we don't kill. So the suit, the blue scarabs become like Jaime, not just Jaime like the blue scarab. They've literally merged minds as well as bodies completely now. And so anyway, the blue beetle reveals that when the blood went into him, the part man, part machine who works for Victoria, who's the enemy, that they brought all his memories back. And so he is able to remember what really happened now. And then he remembers Victoria is actually the one that was behind killing his mother, and then took him away from his dead mother to be made into a machine for her own means and personal gain. And so he then gets angry with her. He realizes that's what happened, and that's the truth he knows now. And he no longer wants to work for her doing what she's asked him to do. He wants to be with his wife, who's dead. He wants to be with her now. And she's like, it's your time. So he grabs hold of Victoria and he takes her with him, and he self-explodes with all the laboratory stuff at that point. Where they were holding the blue beetle originally, Scarab, all that's blown to smithereens, that bit. And so yeah, that's what happens. And then Jenny is back fully in charge of the cord industries. Yeah, she's fully back in charge of it. And the family, Jamie's family, are having like a community type of event, which is in mourning, really, I think, for the father that died. And also the community are coming out to help them because their house is completely annihilated. It's all black. And so Jenny comes and says to the family that she'll sort the house out, that our company will take care of the, rebuilding the house. She buys the dad's brother, she buys him, Rudy, I think his name is, she buys him a new vehicle because she damaged his when they were trying to get away and they were being shot at. And she also ends up kissing Jaime, or Jaime kisses her. So the family really like Jenny. She's like become part of the family. And she's like, oh, we can learn a lot of things from you, your family, because obviously the way they love each other and the way they are with each other, and resourceful too. And so she has this motorbike that she's on, and he's like, why are you driving that? And she's like, oh, it's my father's. And he's like, oh, do you want to take a ride with me? And she's like, what? And anyway, he kisses her in the end, which I'm really glad he does, because he's like 22 and he's like really like kind of like still like a boy in some ways. But he's turned into a man throughout the film in the sense that he's got adult responsibilities now, like to protect the ones he loves, to fight when necessary, to make decisions more quickly, and to know his life purpose already. He went from college graduate in the beginning, not having a clue what he's going to do, to now becoming a superhero. And so anyway, they've had a nice snog, he holds onto her and shoots her up in the air. And that's kind of where the movie ends. But then you see on the credits that her dad is making a help call saying he is still alive, but you can't see. It's like very fuzzy screen. So you can just see like a bit of an outline saying, can you get a message saying to Jenny, I'm still here, alive, and I need help. So that's for the second movie. But I really liked the movie a lot. I thought it was really good. There are some slow bits, so you could argue they're a bit boring. There isn't any sex in it. There is obviously a romantic storyline. There is some sexual references to the fact, like, when they nearly kiss before, there's a part when they nearly kiss, but they get interrupted. And he's got her father's clothes on at that point, because when he's no longer the Blue Beetle and he goes back to being Jaime, he then ends up being completely naked, and so he hadn't really got any suitable clothes. And she's like, oh, you can have my dad's clothes, dad's clothes. he won't mind. So he has his like tracksuit top and bottom. And then when he kisses her, I don't know if other people have noticed this, but when he kisses her, he then pulls his tracksuit bottom down over his private parts, implicating that he had an erection because he was about to kiss her. And then also when he's about to kiss her at the end, before they actually have the kiss, the suit kicks in and says, "Oh, you've got blood going to that region down there." And he's like, "Oh, shut up, don't say that." And then when he kisses her, all the family's going woo like this. It's really funny. But I was really attracted to the main actor. Like, he is so super attractive. I wanted to snog his face off in the beginning of the movie and the end of the movie. Not really when he's a beetle, but yeah, he's so aesthetically good looking. He's like got short dark hair, clean shaven. I hate facial hair. I've actually just followed him on Instagram, but on Instagram he has got some facial hair on some of his photographs. He doesn't look as nice looking in some of the photographs, but in actually the movie, he's my ideal aesthetic type with his beautiful brown hair, clean shaven, nice frame up here, chest and shoulders area. So yeah, I thought the special effects were really good. I did like the storyline a lot. And obviously you could argue it's a bit corny that his sister happened to be going to the toilet and then he happened to be there to overhear the conversation. So there are things you could criticize about the movie. And there was a beginning bits that were a bit slow to do with Jamie's family, but they were building up to the action and trying to make people understand that they were a close-knit family. But I really liked it. I would still recommend seeing it. There isn't any sex in it, but like I said, there's a couple of tiny like sexual references in terms of like body parts and basically Jamie fancying sexually attracted to Jamie sexually attracted to Jenny basically. But there's also a romantic storyline. But I love kissing, so I was really happy when they kissed quite a bit. I'm like, yes, kiss. And I love it because it's like an older woman and a younger guy kissing. And I like that because I'm an older girl that likes younger guys. So I think it's really nice. And I like the fact that the family accepted Jenny as one of their own. I thought if only it was so easy in real life like that for the older woman to be accepted by the family of the younger foreign guy. It's not always like that, because obviously it's more frowned upon still in society for an older woman to be with a younger guy often, but it's still right for older guys to be with a younger girl all the time. But yeah, it's usually other women that have a problem. Guys don't usually have a problem. Guys don't usually have a problem with older women. They love older women, but often they love older women to have sex with. And I'm asexual and don't like sex. I get loads of younger guys on dating apps after sex with me, like 18-year-olds even. I'm like, oh my God, what? They want secret sex hookups. I'm like, I'm really not interested in that. Thanks very much. So yeah, I find it really weird that younger guys love older women to have sex hookups with, but they're not into like just having romance without the sex. But then some people are like, well, guys in their 20s, they're sex mad. What do you expect? Like when they get older, they're not like that. I'm like, they are. I'm like in dating groups on Facebook, for example, asexual ones and non-asexual ones. And the non-asexual ones, there's guys like in their 50s. They're very sexually driven. They love sex. They're always posting about sex. Guys in their 40s and 50s, it's no different for them. Not that I come across anyway. They're very, very into sex. To me, doesn't make much difference. But I know a lot of the younger guys in their 20s, a lot of them haven't actually even had sex. Some of them haven't even kissed. Quite a few of them haven't even kissed. And a part of that's to do with their religion and background. If they come from a really religious background, foreign background, and they've not been in the UK long, for example, then that's a huge part of it. So it's not really because they choose not to have sex. It's because they just haven't had the opportunity or come along, or they weren't allowed to in their own country. So yeah, that's the problem with younger foreign guys when they come over to the UK. A lot of them, they run wild. They're like, oh, I haven't had sex, so I've got to go and get sex now in the UK, and there's loads of girls I can go clubbing and have sex with. But I like clubbing, and like kissing, but not sex. So yeah, but I was glad it was a no sex movie. I was glad they didn't take each other's clothes off. I was glad it was more based on romance, but there was sexual attraction. That was made clear by Jamie's, body parts going off. So they did, sexual attraction, but with a strong romantic element too. But I liked the movie. Partly, I probably liked it because I was really attracted to the main actor, I have to say. But the special effects were fantastic. I thought there's some funny bits, but I was like the only one laughing in the cinema. I thought some bits were really funny, but I was thinking, oh, I better not laugh too much because no one else is laughing. And I was at the front, so you could hear me laughing quite a bit. And so I kind of stopped myself fully laughing, if you know what I mean, because I could have carried on laughing because I was thinking it's really funny. I only went to the toilet once in the whole movie, and that wasn't when Jaime was on the screen. It's when they had the bug come out, the robotic bug that flies in the air. That's really funny as well. I love that. Anyway, let me know what you think of Blue Beetle. Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? I know Rob said in the USA that it's a flop, but it's only just come out, so you might need to give it time. But anyway, I love it. Tell me what you think. Have you seen it yet? Do you love it? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? I do recommend going and seeing it. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it useful, helpful, insightful in any way. Don't forget to share it if you've got someone who might want spoilers. And don't forget, comment down below. And yeah, I'll see you next time on the next live stream or video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Lots of love and thanks, Rob, for taking part tonight. Appreciate you. Bye.